Welcome to Life Stories, where we bring you powerful tales of transformation, resilience, and life's profound lessons. Today, we share the story of Charlie, a boy whose greed led to an unimaginable curse but also a chance at redemption. Abandoned by his own choices and faced with life-changing trials, Charlie embarks on a journey that teaches the true value of honesty, courage, and second chances. Will he rise above his mistakes and reclaim his humanity? Join us as we uncover his extraordinary transformation. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories to begin today's inspiring journey. In the quaint town of Willow Creek, nestled between rolling hills and meandering rivers, life moved at a gentle pace. The town was known for its bustling Saturday market, a lively hub where traders, farmers, and townsfolk gathered to barter, gossip, and share in the joys of community. Among the crowd, a young boy named Charlie was often seen darting through the narrow lanes with a mischievous grin and quick hands. Charlie wasn't just any boy. He was clever, resourceful, and possessed an uncanny ability to spot coins and bills dropped by the busy marketgoers. While others considered such finds mere happenstance, Charlie viewed them as treasures bestowed by fortune itself. "Money is money," he would say with a shrug, slipping a found coin into his pocket as though it were his reward for being sharp-eyed. But what some saw as cleverness, others saw as greed. His mother, Mrs. Harper, was among those who disapproved. A widowed seamstress, she worked tirelessly to provide for Charlie, teaching him the values of honesty and hard work. Each evening, when Charlie returned home with his pockets jingling, Mrs. Harper would confront him. "Charlie," she would say, her voice a mix of exasperation and concern, "do you think money falls from the sky? Those coins belong to someone. Leave what isn't yours alone." Charlie would laugh off her warnings. "It's just a few coins, Ma," he'd reply, brushing past her with an air of confidence. But Mrs. Harper's worry only deepened. She saw in her son a growing obsession with finding money, a thrill that seemed to overshadow his sense of right and wrong. Despite her repeated admonitions, Charlie's habit persisted. He was known throughout Willow Creek as the boy with the sharpest eyes and the quickest hands, a reputation that made him both admired and whispered about. One bright Saturday morning, the market was particularly lively. The scent of fresh bread wafted through the air, mingling with the aroma of ripe apples and the earthy smell of hay. Charlie wandered through the stalls, his eyes scanning the ground for his next find. Near a stall selling yams, a golden glint caught his attention. His heart raced as he saw a shiny coin lying in the dust, its surface gleaming in the sunlight. Without hesitation, Charlie crouched to pick it up. "Leave it," a sharp voice commanded. Startled, Charlie looked up to see the yam seller, an old man with piercing eyes, glaring at him. "That's not ordinary money," the man growled, his voice low and foreboding. Charlie froze for a moment, his hand hovering over the coin. But the temptation was too strong. He snatched the coin and darted into the crowd before the man could stop him. That night, Charlie's sleep was restless. His dreams were filled with whispers and shadows, voices warning him, "Don't take what doesn't belong to you." When he awoke, drenched in sweat, he dismissed the dreams as silly. "A little dream can't scare me," he muttered. But a nagging unease lingered. The following week, Charlie heard about a grand market in the neighboring town of Maplewood. It was said to be twice as busy as Willow Creek's market, a place teeming with opportunities for someone with his sharp eye. Despite his mother's protests, he decided to go, concocting a story about helping his uncle sell vegetables. The Maplewood market was everything Charlie had imagined and more. The air buzzed with life as traders called out their wares: freshly baked bread, roasted chestnuts, colorful fabrics, and fragrant spices. The crowd moved like waves, their chatter blending into a lively symphony. Charlie's heart raced as he scanned the ground, his eyes searching for the telltale glint of coins. Then, near a yam stall, he saw it, a bundle of crisp bills lying in the dust. His pulse quickened. This must be my luckiest day, he thought. Ignoring the unease creeping into his chest, he bent down to grab the money. But as his fingers touched the notes, the world around him seemed to shift. The air grew cold. The chatter of the market faded, and the ground beneath him felt unnaturally still. Charlie tried to straighten up, but his legs wouldn't obey. A wave of panic surged through him as he realized he couldn't move. Looking down, he gasped in horror. His skin was hardening, turning a rough, brownish texture. His breath grew shallow as his fingers stiffened, his body shrinking into the shape of a potato. No. Charlie tried to scream, but no sound came. The bustling market continued around him as though nothing had happened. His vision blurred, and when it cleared, he found himself lying motionless on the ground. The voice of the old yam seller echoed in his mind, deep and resonant. You were warned, Charlie. Greed has turned you into what you deserve most, a potato for the market. Now, you belong to us. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the Maplewood market, the traders packed up their goods, and the bustling square grew quiet. No one noticed the new potato lying among the others, its rough skin concealing a mind still alive with terror. Charlie could see and hear everything, but he was powerless to move or speak. Am I really a potato? Is this a dream? He thought desperately. But as the hours passed, the cold reality of his fate sank in. The market grew still. The only sound the faint rustle of the wind. Charlie's thoughts turned to his mother's warnings and the yam seller's ominous words. As night fell, Charlie lay in the silence of the deserted market, consumed by fear and regret. For the first time, he wished he had listened. The next morning, the Maplewood market came alive once more. Traders arrived early, setting up their stalls and arranging their goods. Among them was a group of women searching for fresh produce. Their chatter filled the air as they browsed the market, occasionally stopping to examine fruits, vegetables, and yams. Charlie watched helplessly as one woman approached the yam stall. She reached down, picking him up and turning him over in her hands. Panic surged through him. He could feel her touch, but he was unable to move or speak. This one looks good, the woman said cheerfully. No, don't take me. Charlie wanted to scream, but his thoughts were trapped in silence. He focused his mind desperately on the yam seller, pleading for help. To his shock, the old man's eyes snapped open. They glowed faintly, as if he could sense Charlie's thoughts. The greedy boy, he muttered, his voice deep and echoing. The woman paused, confused. Who are you talking to? She asked. I'm talking to the yam you're holding, the old man replied. The woman gasped, dropping Charlie back onto the pile of yams. Her startled scream caught the attention of other market-goers, who turned to see what had happened. Murmurs of fear and confusion rippled through the crowd as the old man continued to speak. This yam is no ordinary potato. It is the boy who ignored every warning, took what wasn't his, and now suffers the consequences of his greed. Before anyone could respond, a figure emerged from the crowd. It was the old woman Charlie had met in Willow Creek. Her eyes glinted like embers as she pointed at him with her walking stick. Charlie, she said sternly, you did not listen to the warnings. Now, you will learn the value of honesty and contentment. The market fell silent. Traders and buyers whispered among themselves, casting uneasy glances at the pile of yams. A strange, cold wind blew through the square, sending chills down everyone's spine. News of Charlie's transformation spread quickly. By the next morning, the entire town of Willow Creek had gathered at the Maplewood market to witness the strange event. Among the crowd was Mrs. Harper, her face pale with worry and her eyes red from crying. My son. My only son, she wept, kneeling before the yam pile. Please. Someone help me. What do I do to bring him back? The old woman stepped forward, her voice steady but grave. There is only one way, she said. But it is dangerous. You must journey to the shrine of the Earth Spirit in the Forbidden Forest and plead for his life. But beware, the Earth Spirit does not forgive easily. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The Forbidden Forest was a place of mystery and fear, shrouded in darkness and whispered tales of strange occurrences. Few dared to enter, and those who did rarely returned. Mrs. Harper's hands trembled, but her voice was firm. "I will go," she said, wiping away her tears. "Charlie is my son. I cannot abandon him." The old woman nodded and handed her a small calabash filled with white chalk. "Take this," she instructed. "When you reach the shrine, draw a circle around yourself and kneel inside it. Do not step out, no matter what you see or hear." Clutching the calabash tightly, Mrs. Harper set off for the Forbidden Forest. The journey was long and treacherous, the path overgrown with thorny bushes and the cries of strange birds echoing through the air. As she ventured deeper, the sunlight faded, replaced by an eerie twilight that seemed to press in from all sides. At last, she reached a clearing where an ancient shrine stood. The structure was made of moss-covered stones, and in its center was a glowing red orb that pulsed like a heartbeat. Summoning all her courage, Mrs. Harper drew a circle with the chalk and knelt inside it, just as the old woman had instructed. "Great Earth Spirit," she called out, her voice trembling, "I have come to plead for my son's life. Please, show mercy." The ground shook, and a deep, rumbling voice filled the air. "Who dares disturb me? I am Mrs. Harper," she replied, clasping her hands tightly. "My son has been cursed for his greed. I beg you to forgive him and bring him back to me." The red orb glowed brighter, and a towering figure emerged from the earth. It was made of stone and soil, its eyes burning like fire. The Earth Spirit loomed over her, its presence overwhelming. "Your son defied the laws of the land," it said, its voice reverberating through the clearing. "He took what was not his, again and again, despite many warnings. Why should I grant him mercy?" Mrs. Harper's voice cracked as she answered. "Because he is young and foolish. But he can change. I promise to teach him the values of honesty and hard work. Please, Great Spirit, give him a second chance." The Earth Spirit was silent for a long moment. The forest grew deathly still as Mrs. Harper held her breath. Finally, the Spirit spoke. "There is a price to undo the curse," it said. "You must make a sacrifice, something precious to you." Mrs. Harper's heart sank. She had nothing left to give except her own life. "If my life will save his." "Take it," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Let him live and learn from his mistakes." The Earth Spirit tilted its head, as if considering her words. "Your son must atone for his actions himself," it declared. "He will face trials to prove his worth. If he passes, he will return. If he fails, he will remain a potato forever." Before Mrs. Harper could respond, the ground beneath her began to glow, and she was lifted into the air. A blinding light surrounded her, and she heard the Earth Spirit's voice echoing in her ears. "Return to the market. The trials will begin." When Mrs. Harper opened her eyes, she was back in the Maplewood market, standing before the yam pile. The crowd watched in silence as the yam began to tremble and crack, revealing Charlie's terrified face. Though his body remained trapped, his eyes were wide with fear and confusion. The booming voice of the Earth Spirit filled the air once more. "Charlie, you must face 3 trials to earn your freedom. If you succeed, you will be free. If you fail, you will remain a potato forever." The crowd gasped, and Mrs. Harper fell to her knees. "Charlie, my son," she whispered, her voice shaking, "be strong." The market square grew silent as all eyes turned to Charlie, awaiting his first trial. The market square stood still, all eyes on Charlie's face as it emerged from the yam. The booming voice of the Earth Spirit echoed again, commanding the attention of the crowd. "The first trial," it announced, "is the trial of truth. Charlie must confess the wrongs he has committed, without hiding a single one. Only the truth can unlock the first part of his freedom." Charlie's heart raced as he felt the weight of the crowd's gaze. He looked at his mother, her tearful eyes silently urging him on. "Speak the truth. Charlie," she said, her voice trembling. "Free yourself." But the shame and fear were overwhelming. Charlie's mouth opened, but no words came. The crowd began to murmur, some in pity, others in judgment. The yam seller, standing nearby, nodded solemnly. "You must face it, boy," he said. Finally, with a deep breath, Charlie began to speak. I have taken money from the ground many times," he admitted, his voice shaky. "I knew it didn't belong to me, but I told myself it was fine because no one was watching. I ignored everyone who warned me, even my own mother." The crowd was silent, hanging on his every word, encouraged by the lack of ridicule. Charlie continued, tears streaming down his face. "It wasn't just the money. I lied to people. I cheated during games. And I laughed when I got away with things that were wrong. I thought I was clever. But I see now that I was greedy. I'm so sorry." As Charlie spoke, a faint glow surrounded the yam. The light grew brighter with each confession, and the crowd gasped as they watched the yam begin to crack. With a loud snap, part of the yam fell away, revealing more of Charlie's body. He could feel his hands and arms again, though his legs remained trapped. The voice of the earth spirit returned, deep and resonant. "The truth has set you partially free, but your journey is not yet complete. Prepare for the second trial, the trial of sacrifice." Charlie swallowed hard. "Sacrifice," he whispered. "Yes," the spirit replied. "You must give up something precious to you, something you hold dearer than anything else. Only then can you take the next step toward freedom." Charlie's mind raced. What could he possibly sacrifice? He had no riches, no treasures, just a bag that lay at the edge of the crowd, filled with the coins and notes he had secretly collected over the months. His gaze shifted to the bag, and realization dawned. The money was his pride, the fruit of all his cleverness and risk-taking. To give it up would mean admitting that it was never truly his. "Bring me my bag," Charlie said, his voice trembling. A young boy from the crowd ran to fetch the bag and handed it to Mrs. Harper. She carried it to her son, her face filled with both pride and sorrow. Charlie looked at the bag, his hands shaking. "This money," he said, his voice breaking, "is what I thought made me smart and important. But I see now that it was wrong. I don't need it." With trembling hands, he emptied the bag onto the ground, letting the coins and notes scatter in the dust. The crowd murmured in surprise and approval as the glimmering coins caught the sunlight. The earth spirit's voice thundered again. "You have sacrificed what you held most precious. The final trial awaits, the trial of courage. To be truly free, you must face your greatest fear and overcome it." Charlie's chest tightened. His greatest fear. He wasn't even sure what that could be. Before he could think further, the ground beneath him began to tremble violently. A deep black mist emerged from the earth, swirling and taking shape. The mist formed shadowy figures, each with a face Charlie recognized. They were the traders, buyers, and villagers he had wronged, their expressions twisted in anger and disappointment. "You stole from us," one shadow hissed. "You lied to your family," another growled. The voices grew louder, accusing him of every wrong he had ever done. The shadows moved closer, their forms looming over him, their whispers piercing his mind. Charlie's instinct was to run, but he couldn't. His legs were still trapped in the yam, and even if he could move, the fear held him in place. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," he cried. But the shadows didn't relent. Then, through the chaos, he heard his mother's voice. "Charlie, remember. You must face your fear. Don't run. Stand firm." Her words struck a chord in him. Taking a deep breath, Charlie shouted into the mist. "I was wrong. I hurt people with my greed and lies. But I'm sorry. I'm not that person anymore. I want to make things right. You can't scare me anymore." The shadows paused, their forms flickering. Charlie's voice grew stronger. I won't run from my mistakes. I'll do whatever it takes to be better. With those words, the shadows began to dissolve, their whispers fading into the wind. A warm light enveloped Charlie, and he felt a sense of peace wash over him. The Earth Spirit spoke one final time. You have faced the truth, given up your greed, and overcome your fear. You are free. Charlie, use this second chance wisely. The yam crumbled completely, and Charlie fell to the ground, fully human again. The crowd erupted in cheers and relief. Mrs. Harper rushed to embrace her son, tears streaming down her face as she held him tightly. But the Earth Spirit left him with a warning. Remember, Charlie, if you return to your old ways, no one will save you again. Charlie nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of the warning. He had been given a second chance, a chance to start anew, to become the person he was meant to be. As the market returned to its bustling rhythm, Charlie vowed to live with honesty and integrity, leaving behind his old ways for good. In the end, Charlie's journey became a powerful tale of redemption. From a boy consumed by greed to a young man of integrity, his transformation inspired everyone in Willow Creek and beyond. With his second chance, Charlie dedicated his life to helping others, teaching the importance of honesty, and earning the trust of his community. His story, passed down through generations, served as a reminder that no mistake is beyond redemption if one is willing to face the truth, make sacrifices, and confront their fears. Charlie never forgot the lessons he learned or the love and determination of his mother, Mrs. Harper, who risked everything to save him. Thank you for watching this heartfelt story on Life Stories. Subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales of resilience, courage, and hope. Stay tuned for the next inspiring journey. We can't wait to share it with you.